Okay, here we are. It's Tuesday, November 27th. Inner City Press, which has covered UN corruption for some time, only recently being beaten up and thrown out by Antonio Guterres, the most corrupt Secretary General ever, today covered the UN bribery trial of Patrick Ho and the China Energy Fund Committee. What we can tell you while Fat Tony drives to Lisbon on your money and throws journalists in the street beating them up, is that the testimony at trial, not our story, the testimony, the sworn testimony at trial, had a former president of the General Assembly, Vuka, Jeremić, describing taking UN security into this building, to apartment 78B, the apartment of the China Energy Fund Committee, a UN NGO that's still selling weapons, that sold weapons to Debbie to kill people in Chad, that offered weapons to South Sudan. And you know what Big Fat Tony has done? He hasn't audited the group. He doesn't care about the civilians being slaughtered. All he's done is throw the journalist that asked about it in the street. Today, a noon briefing. Sleepwalking. Metju, the friends of Dujarric, asking, what does Guterres think? You know what? I don't care what he thinks. He's corrupt. He used his security to beat up a journalist. The same security protected and accompanied Vuka Jeremić to the 78th floor of a weapons dealer. So I'm asking, in writing, what the UN rule is about the security witnessing crimes. Because they committed a crime, beating up Inner City Press, but here they witnessed a crime. Now, who testified to this? Vuka Jeremić testified that while PGA, he went to apartment 78B in this building, and a staff member of CEFC, the Chinese NGO that sells weapons to African despots, testified that, yes, he went in here as well. He met Patrick Ho in here as well. This was the office of CEFC, and they would waddle across the street to Big Tony's shithole of the United Nations, where they beat up journalists who report on corruption. Apartment 78B, the China Energy Fund Committee, an NGO that sells weapons to African despots to kill people. Yes, it's true. It's a bit ironic. Yes, it's important to keep the revolving doors absolutely closed because Antonio Guterres wants to protect Chinese corruption killing Africans. Now we're going to head up to Big Tony's publicly funded mansion. You see, we never did this. We just wanted to cover the UN. For years we covered the UN. Only Big Tony, so corrupt, so sleazy, would defend arms sales in a Trump golden-plated building. Now come out. Maybe you own the bike path. Come on down, guys. Did you know that your tenant was killing people in South Sudan and Libya? Taking bribes? Did you know? Let's check it out. Absolutely corrupt. The UN is corrupt, and they use the gold-plated Trump World Tower to perform their magic. And Antonio Guterres and Stefan Dujarric, absolutely complicit. Alison Smale, totally complicit. A former New York Times editor beating up journalists that report on the killing of Africans by Chinese NGOs because she went and posed with a Chinese airplane in South Carolina. The UN is corrupt. Antonio Guterres, totally corrupt. And soon we will see, and we will not stop. We have as much right to cover the UN as Mr. Metju, the friend of Antonio Guterres, as the Portuguese no-show sleazeballs. Antonio Guterres is corrupt. He's killing the UN and covering up rapes by Cameroonian peacekeepers and Chinese NGOs selling weapons to African despots. Disgusting. To be continued quite soon on Sutton Place. We stopped for a whole month. We told Stefan Dujarric. I don't know what the rules are. Whatever the rules are, we'll try to follow them. No. They just don't want any hard questions. They just want Metju all the time. The UN is retired. The UN should be retired. To be continued in about 5 minutes.